Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Iowa soccer supporters. I'm Ben Brackett, your Soccer Talk co-host, alongside my good pal Blake Siebers. Siebes, what's up?
Hey guys, I always love trying to plug some things we do, and we've got to plug our YouTube channel because one, we've worn almost the exact same outfit, but Ben's got glasses now, so welcome.
It's not green this time.
Thanks, Blake. Check it out. We're here. I don't know if this is going to end up being round one or round two of our high school coaches roundtable, but it's one of the rounds. Tonight, I guess starting on my right, so camera-wise, what's that, your left? We're not even going to worry about that. We got Simon Brown from Ankeny, the girls coach there. We got Tiger Neaters, the new Lincoln Rails girls coach. Got my good friend Matt Ream here, the Roosevelt Rough Riders coach. Lincoln boys, the Rails, Joseph Thonrath. We got Jacob Lucy, the Southeast Polk Rams. And then the Waukee Northwest Wolves, Tony Gabriel, who I was just introduced to for the first time tonight, apparently. Good to see you, Tony. So instead of, we've got a lot of first-timers tonight, so I'm assuming there's a lot of nervous faces here, nervous people. Maybe not. Is that right? Anyway, let's start it off, and we'll go counterclockwise and start with Tony. Why don't you just give us like a little shout on what your program is looking like from last year, and kind of what you're thinking about as you go into the season here for 2023.
Sure. So Waukee Northwest Ladies, it's our second year in existence, split from the Waukee Warrior program.
I'm gonna pull it closer to you.
Oh, am I too far away?
Maybe. That's better. Sorry.
Okay. We graduated 6 girls last year, so got some spots to fill. Got a great returning cast. Really excited. These girls have some of the highest expectations, so they're ready to get to work, and it's only a few short weeks away. So I'm really excited for the season. We got some talent coming up as freshmen and sophomores that are eagerly hoping to get involved as well. So things are looking good.
I'm going to amend the question as well to include, give us an idea of the number that you are probably going to have out for soccer this year.
Oh, okay. Right now we've just passed the 80 mark, so we have a little bit over 80 girls interested in playing.
Mr. Lucy?
So I'm in my second year now with the Southeast Polk boys. Last season was a whirlwind, as every high school season is, because you get about 3 months of intense games and practices, and then you're kind of just sit and wait for another 9 months. But we feel pretty good about our group. It graduated about 5 to 7 guys that were varsity contributors last year, a couple all-conference players. So we're going to see what kind of players step up to fill those shoes. But feeling pretty good about our numbers. We've seen what we believe to be a pretty big increase over the past few years in numbers, so hoping to hit 75 plus. How that looks with injuries and ineligibility is a different conversation, but that's a real increase, really encouraging coming off COVID, because that first year coming off COVID was pretty rough, I think, for everyone in terms of numbers. So, we feel pretty good about it. Our guys have really bought into what we're doing. We've kind of solidified a staff of guys that are young and energetic, and bring a little bit different backgrounds to the game. So we feel good about the season. We feel like we're going to have another good year to build on, and we have some really talented players to make something special happen.
Joey?
I mean, like what Lucy just described is exactly where Lincoln is at as well. That first year was something else. But we are.
We can talk about the other things later, Joe. You just keep going. You thought about a tangent there. Continue.
We have on paper probably 120 players, 120 students that signed up, which generally would equate to about 60 to 80 players coming out. We should be better this year. We lost 2 all-conference players, Jason Kunkel and Saroj Shashankar. But we have some guys that transferred back that didn't play last year, so they're going to contribute massively, and I think we should be a little bit more competitive this year.
Mr. Green?
Yeah, so entering my third season as a head coach, 6.5 with the program. The half is the 2020 that didn't actually happen. We've had 2 years of pretty large senior classes. This year we have a much smaller senior class. I think last year, I'm going to look at Tiger because Tiger was with our program last year. Would you say we had like 8 seniors that started regularly, something like that? 7 or 8?
8.
About 8, yeah. So it's going to be interesting to figure out who steps into those gaps, those roles going forward. Might have some younger guys that are going to contribute, which is exciting. And then overall, we have probably about roughly 80 guys right now. Usually that translates into about 75 or 65, somewhere in there. It just depends. So it'll be interesting.
T-Gray, talk about the Rails, please.
Yeah, so it was my first year at Lincoln, so I'm pretty excited about that. Very excited. So they lost a few good players. Barissa was, all state, so losing her is going to be tough. But the senior class, there's 5 that are returning, or 4 that are returning that were all conference or honorable mention. Also, Lily is a sophomore who is second team all state, so a lot of potential there with her. So I'm looking forward to it. We've had about 87 girls in the app. 50 have shown up to open gym. The sophomore freshman class really show out and are very strong, so I'm pretty excited about the future of the program.
Word on the street is the Metro is all yours.
Let's hope so.
Simon?
Yeah, so
Ankeny Hawks,
I'm trying to remember the question. It's been like 15 minutes.
Yeah. You want a refresher?
We have around 50 kids. So I know that was the second question. And
Outlook. What's your outlook on the
recapping the
group?
season? So we graduated to first team all state kids, to all tournament team kids. So we got some big shoes to fill. Probably similar to Tony, where we have a couple of younger kids coming through that are looking to shine. So probably about five kids that would start frequently last year graduated. We bring back three of our back 4 kids, and then starting goalkeeper last year that conceded 2 goals all season. A couple of midfielders, a couple of top goal scorers we bring back. So again, we're right around the same place, and we have a couple of younger kids looking to come through as well. So similar to what Tony said, and right around 50 kids. So I think we're on the low end of what everyone else.
That's interesting. So just to plug the other high school roundtable pod, whenever they go out, it's interesting to hear everybody's numbers from the boys and the girls from all over the place. So since you will probably forget this one, let's start with you, Simon.
Thank you.
Give us a couple of things, or one, what do you love about high school soccer? What are just open-ended, there you go. What's cool about it? What do you like?
For me, and I've answered this question a couple of times. For me, I love the tribal part of it. Like, you're from this part of town, you play in this part of town no matter what. We all have club kids on our team, and there's lots of turnover. They go from one club to another and they bounce around. But for the most part, generally, kids just play for where they're from, and we have a big rivalry on either side of town, and it's where they're from and they're born in town. And Tony has that now with the Wolves, and a couple of you guys have that as well. And that's what I really like about it, is just the tribal part of it. It reminds me a lot of the stuff back home, because like I was born in a part of town. It's like, listen, you play for that team and you represent that team no matter what. And that's what I love about it the most.
So before we keep going, you mentioned that most of the time people are staying in their communities to play. Is there a difference between the boys and the girls on this? Because I know a lot of the boys would say, like boys coaches would say, not that that's not true, but that like occasionally that rule is being broken a little bit, where people are taking advantage of the open enrollment piece, not rule, but the idea, the concept. Are the girls coaches, you guys seeing that the same way? The three of you?
In my opinion, I haven't seen. We've had a transfer in every now and then, but none of my girls really transfer out. Maybe, I don't know if someone else has a better opinion than me.
Is it? I'm just curious if it seems like it might just a little bit be like boys versus girls. I don't know. Maybe I'm just curious. Nothing. Okay. I love when that happens.
All right, Joe, let's just talk a little bit, because you guys, I think the metro schools have seen exodus of players. So Joe, I'll give it to you. Just talk about some of the challenges, I guess, because DMPS and total enrollment is also dropping.
Yeah, so I'll tell you what. I'll respond to Ben's question first. because it's going to lead into that. 100%.
Last time you teed it all up, man.
Southside pride, right? So that's a big reason why I did take this role. I wanted to bring back.
Joey's a Lincoln alum.
Yeah, I'm Lincoln. Lincoln boy. Yeah, Lincoln boy. So I wanted to make sure that the kids that are in the Southside community have something to look forward to, have something to be proud of, and that's a big reason why I preferred to coach high school soccer, especially at Lincoln. Secondly, I think it's about the student support, having the administration support you as well, having them come out to games. I always revert back to the experience of, I think it was 2017 or 2018 when Roosevelt played Lincoln.
We play you guys every year.
Well, there was one game where the stadium was packed, and I think Lincoln came back to win with the last second goal, and the stadium just went wild.
It would have been 2018 probably.
2018?
That was a shootout, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
So I think there were 2 years, 18 and 19, might have both been, shootouts. One of them, I believe Lincoln scored an equalizer to force it into extra time or whatever.
Whatever it may have been. Just the environment was incredible, and I wanted to bring that back. Just a testament to what Simons has done.
So that's what you
that
love.
program.
That's what you love.
I love
about
it.
high school
Yeah,
soccer.
that's what I love about high school soccer.
He totally skirted the question I asked. Let's go to Tiger.
So yeah, I think camaraderie, I think that's a big thing. I really enjoyed it at Roosevelt, the bus trips, the boys singing after a win, stuff like that. I'm all about having a good time, a lot of fun. So already at our open gyms, music playing, girls dancing, the coaches, at their table talking, having a good time. So really having with coaching staff and the players, the vibe around the team is very positive. So it's kind of what I enjoy about high school compared to club.
To Joe's earlier point, some of the high school games, the atmosphere can be really terrific. In 2017, which was my first year associated with Roosevelt as an assistant for the great Sean Holmes, we were on field 6 at County, and that was probably the most people I've ever seen at any sort of, I say youth, because high school is still kind of a youth game. But it was corner flag to corner flag on the opposite sideline. And, the game-winning goal made the news, which was unusual for me. That's not something I've experienced, prior to coming to Iowa. So that was really exciting. The other thing I'll say, as far as why I enjoy coaching high school, is it's really cool to see, a kid come in as a freshman, or sometimes even younger. You meet a kid when they're younger. They know you're coaching at this program. And it's really cool to see them grow up within your program or within the program. It's not, yours or anyone specifically, but it's cool to see kids mature, grow, become, at the end of it, the adults that they're going to be. And so that to me has been special, is to be able to be a part of that with, so many kids within, Roosevelt over the years.
Thanks, Matt. Jacob?
Geez, it's hard to follow up these guys.
I know.
Especially DMPS guys talking about loving the town, man.
You could say ditto and you'd be fine.
So what is Southeast Polk's town? What do you guys?
So that actually is kind of, so RAMS, right? Runnels Altoona Mitchellville Schools is what it used to be.
Is that a thing?
That's why the Rams, yeah. Whoa. Yep.
Today years old.
Is that real? That's good.
It is. So I think they've amended it recently to include surrounding areas as the S now.
I was going to say that the S, I think, has been changed to surrounding area.
Yep, surrounding area. Yep. Runnels Altoona Mitchellville Schools. Yep, schools. So I am a Southeast Polk guy, and I'm from surrounding areas, right? So I have an east side of Des Moines address. I live there, yeah. So, when we moved there, it was kind of one of those boundary areas. But I'm a Southeast Polk guy, and I have a lot of pride for that as well. What I love about high school soccer for me, and this is a little unique because it's not just a part of town, but it's multiple towns. It's this idea that it takes a village to a community to grow kids. And so everything that I do on a day-to-day basis, now I work for the school as well, everything I do feels like it's for the soccer program. It's for those kids. And all of the kids that are around them and all of the community that's around them. So the community aspect, getting to go out into the community when you wear a Southeast Polk logo, whether it says soccer or something else, it means something. When the wrestlers are down at state, it means something to wear that logo. When the football team's winning a state title, or when kids are committing to Alabama or whatever, right? Which is apparently the way that things go now in Iowa. That was not the case when I was in high school, but
Something in the water out there.
there is something. I'd love for some of our boys to get a hold of whatever that water is.
Wait for the Southeast Polk state title. When's that coming from?
When we have all the 6'6" dudes going D1, yeah, that'll be perfect. But no, I think that community aspect is so special, especially now in the club game where you see, 2, 3, 4 clubs picking up every single kid they can to play in some alphabet soup league, and they're like, oh yeah, we offer the best experience. And I would argue that every single one of the teams at this table offers a lot better experience than that, because you have a whole community behind you, and it's to be better people, right? It's not just soccer.
I can't wait for that. Like, that debate. We can get everybody on the stage and just have the.
Do you think everybody would participate in that debate?
No, I don't think so. Tony, Jacob,
Ditto.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, to
Give
echo
us a-
everybody else, the tribal.
But you're also
piece of
from
it-
Waukee as well, right?
No, I'm from Bondurant, actually,
I
which
know.
is closer to the Runnels, Altoona, Mitchellville area.
It'd be called Bring.
That's probably the only reason why I know that, is because I live so close to it. But being a new school, it's a little bit different, but we're trying to establish that part of the community. And but yeah, I've always enjoyed it. I've been in coaching high school girls soccer for almost 15 years, and just to address the open enrollment thing, I can count on one hand how many open enrollment transfers we've actually had in those 15 years. So it hasn't been a big issue or anything like that for the girls, but maybe it's coming. I don't know. Maybe it's always something that's a little bit delayed.
I was just curious when my question was asked earlier, like the difference between the boys and the girls. I think there is
a difference,
Yeah.
honestly. I'm not sure what's driving that.
No, fair enough. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I think
No,
maybe
you're
you were
cool.
going to say something more. No.
Yeah, I would, because it's funny, because what I actually enjoy about high school soccer is almost conflicting, because I do love the tribal piece of it, and it's your school, it's your logo, you're something to compete for. But I also love the aspect of it. It almost mirrors college soccer in a sense, where you're getting all these different kids from different coaching backgrounds, different teams, different ages, and things like that. And they all and you can just find a way to mold them together into playing together. It's a beautiful thing, honestly.
The different ages thing is pretty cool.
Oh yeah.
I think that's one of the most unique pieces about it.
Right. You wouldn't think, because many of us have freshmen playing varsity soccer, but you would never think that kid could play 3 years up, but they can do it and they can handle it, and it's really cool to see.
I know Blake's got another question.
All right, let's go with Tiger, lucky man. We just talked about what's good. We're gonna now go, what's one thing we can change? What do you get frustrated with high school? And you can't, so we changed the soccer ball. That's always been a big, at least, issue.
For the guys.
I was saying for the boys. So
Bring that up first. Talk about that first, quick. Just like anybody has comments. It doesn't have to be a round table on this.
the boys got a new ball. Girls.
Not yet, to my knowledge, it's Spalding.
So you're still Spalding?
Yeah.
All right. So you guys can't say.
happy? Boys coaches?
I mean,
About the ball, or I mean, is it round?
Oh no.
I'm happy for you guys.
Yes, Tony.
So it's just funny. Like that's been a topic we've talked about for many years, and clearly the boys have fixed it. The girls haven't.
Simon looks like he has like a feeling on it.
All I'm going to say is, specifically with the ball, it doesn't matter anyway, because you can use whatever ball you want during season. There's no rule.
But so then when it's a state
You
tournament,
use
you
the
get stuck
select
with
ball.
We use select during the season,
use
but it's
select during
state
season.
or
State
post
Spalding.
sub-state
When you
regional
get the
tournaments.
sticky ball, you're getting tanked right all
So
over the
just
place.
at state and in the postseason, you have to use the Spalding ball. Other than that, you can use whatever ball you want. We have no rules.
Yeah, so I think, it's a ball is a ball, right? I mean, that's kind of the argument. But I'll say that, the folks at Iowa High School Soccer Association are listening, right? I mean, it's a small change, but it positively impacts the guys that are playing. We've seen people trip over the soccer balls, and when there's an opportunity to use a better soccer ball, then why not do it? I mean, the fact that it took this long for it to happen, it's kind of crazy. But the fact that they did change, I think it's a positive move.
If you have to use the Spalding ball, I got a great tip from Mike Lucht, a referee. He said, take it out to the parking lot and knock it around for like 15 minutes, and it'll scratch up the surface enough so that it's not tacky anymore, which allegedly helps. That's what he
heard
said.
it here first.
And then you got to make the high school associations buy new soccer balls for the state tournament the next year because they're going to be all rough.
Maybe.
Okay, Tiger, back to you. Something you would change other than soccer ball?
I mean, the schedule makes it tough to do a lot of coaching. I mean, there's a week where we have 3 games, and so you're literally playing a game, recovering, and then you have another game. So it's tough with the game so compact. So I mean, we're playing Iowa, so it's kind of tough to get started earlier. But if there's a way to stretch the season out, it'd be much better.
You get to pick who's next.
All right, let's go, Raym.
Well, it's interesting because, our first date, and this is true with the girls now as well, but the first day that we can actually coach and practice and all that is actually during spring break. So, I don't know what every program does. I mean, some programs might require their kids to be there or make it, an obligation in some capacity, but it's really hard to do that because you have some families that choose to go somewhere and enjoy their spring break, and so it's almost like a little bit of a wasted week, and that to me is a little problematic because then the following week you really only get like 6 training sessions or something, and then you've got to play your first game. So it is really short, and there's not a lot of preparation. And there are a lot of games, in a short period of time. Now, our schedule's not as condensed as other people. I mean, I've talked to coaches that are complaining about 4 games in a week, and I've chosen not to overload our schedule like that because I don't think that's beneficial for anyone. But we have to get a lot done in a short period of time. So to Tiger's point, that needs to be addressed.
Hold on to that thought for a little bit, okay? Let's go to Tony. No, wait, you get to pick. I'm sorry.
Let's go with Tony.
Okay, Tony.
How much time do we have here?
Let's give you a 30-second shot clock. Okay. Sorry, well, I know we could go.
Just throwing it out there, I wish the season for high school soccer was fall. That's just me. I think there's less conflict and don't run into spring
Would you
break.
go August to what?
November, just like college.
Like concurrent with college season,
Yep.
similar to football.
Yep.
Would you get more games at that point?
No. I think the games...
So, more stretched out
I think you'd get a little bit more time to stretch out games that way, yeah.
Similar to most states, I think, as well,
Yeah.
right? Like, we're one of a handful in the country, and I would be curious, like, why even... There's clearly... Is it because high school and football fields and soccer used to always share the same...
Players.
Like small schools.
So non-ECNL players, the season is basically like the club season is fall. But if you did it the other way, they'd have basically like March through August.
Yeah.
It'd be a pretty long season.
Because regionals and nationals are summer. Why not have state in the spring? That's just me.
Credit to Tony for like the first original idea we've heard in a while.
Right.
You have more?
I do.
Oh, good.
I encourage multiple sports. I love the athletes doing multiple sports. It kind of stinks at the high school level in a sense where if they are juggling soccer with track and then club soccer as well, and the kid themselves, you can just see them. They don't want to let anybody down, but they're being told where to go, and I like to leave it up to the kids.
What's the fall equivalent? Like, so you've got football for the boys,
volleyball,
cross country.
Yeah. We might see a little bit of crossover there. I don't know if there's a whole lot of soccer football players or even soccer cross country, soccer volleyball, but I do know there's a lot of track and soccer crossover. So yeah,
Real quick, is there any show choir? So this is like, you guys laugh, but this evidently is an issue where some activities say, hey, you have to come.
From experience, this is why he's bringing this up.
No, this is but you have to do this, and like you have to come for this performance or practice where they are way more strict and kind of what you said, they're telling you what to do when you're like, well, either pick or can we work together?
Right. We
what
have
are your-
that, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, not
So
just
it's real.
show choir, but yeah, dance, stuff like that, or even stuff that's more school related where if you don't attend, you don't get credit for it. And so the kids.
Show choir is generally a class, so
Yeah,
do
right. So,
you have a third thing too?
we'll let someone else go.
Do you have a third thing? Is it good?
I'll give my thing to
Okay.
let him
What's
speak
your thing,
again.
Jacob?
No, I'm saying I'll give up my thing
Oh,
so that
really? You
he
don't
can.
have one?
I plead the fifth.
I guess I'll just say that, and I know definitely in our cases, the majority of our matches are on turf. And then when you get to the state, it's on natural grass with a different ball. So it changes the sport a little bit. It really does.
1,000%.
You can throw the
I
ball
think
up
you're
at
right.
county as high as you want, and it won't bounce over your head. That's a different game than turf. I'd rather it all be on turf or all on grass.
Yeah, it should be all on grass.
Yeah, if we had it all natural grass, it'd be terrific. But then again, county in June, the grass is 2 inches long.
I mean, both teams play on the same surface regardless,
True,
right?
true. It just changes the
same thing with
sport.
the ball. Yeah, it does. It does. I think sometimes those things also highlight the discrepancy in resources depending on where you go. So, like for example, Roseville is fortunate that we now do have a turf field. It's very narrow, and we have multiple sports that are using it. So, if we were to want to use that space, I think we'd be out there at like 9 o'clock at night. You get to a point where kids do need sleep so that they can perform in the classroom. Whereas, there are some communities that have multiple turf facilities that they have access to. So, the bar is set differently for every community, and that does make it challenging at times. I personally love soccer on grass, as it's meant to be played.
Yep.
I think everyone would probably agree that they prefer playing on a good grass field.
Right.
No, not the young kids, right? What's with these kids?
It's because that's all they know. But for me,
Yes, eye contact. Let's go, Joe.
Joe.
Joe,
No,
yeah, Tony does not get 4. Good Lord.
holistically, I think I still have issues with like when the sub-state pairings are issued. It's so archaic, right? Like when that was done back in the 90s, I get it. But now we live in a world where information is sent in like an instant. So, right, I'll say personally, it doesn't really matter the sub-state rankings, right? For me, at least what I've experienced. But I think if those sub-state rankings should occur later in the season.
So, I guess, Joe, give a little time frame on the boys, and then Tiger, Simon, I don't know if you know Tiger, on the girls, when that comes out. Just so everybody knows, Joe, when does it come out for the boys?
God, guys, I don't even know.
It was sent.
So it's sent already. So you don't know who you're playing in the sub-state right now.
No, they sent out the timing of when they're going to release that.
So your issue, though, is, Joe, they release it not even close to when the season's close to the end. So
Right, it's like mid-season, right? Like sometime in
There's another
mid.
3, 4, 5 week. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, what's there? It's like a 10-week season. Is that right?
I think it's after week 5 they do it for the boys. It's either 5 or 6, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, but there's still like 4 weeks of soccer
Yeah,
left to be
exactly.
played.
And a lot of the time you still have your conference games, and so it's
Correct.
a lot hasn't been settled yet.
Yeah.
the two girls coaches at the end clearly were communicating off the mic, so they've got it. I
Another
think.
plug for the YouTube channel.
Middle of May is when the parents come out, and
For you guys?
regular
For
season
girls?
goes till Memorial Day, so a little early, but
Simon, same? Or
Am I getting asked the big question?
yeah.
I have lots of things that I'd change, but I'll keep it short. I think the start day doesn't make sense. Kind of go what Matt says, like, how can we only have 6 days? I would disagree with Tony. I wouldn't want the fall personally because I coach college, so it wouldn't make sense. I wouldn't be able to do my job. So, yeah, selfishly, but I do like a longer window. It means that we could train all summer to get, because now we get 6 days. I don't know why we're not able to have contact with the kids in open gyms. They're there anyway, but we have to sit in the corner and not do anything. That's the rule. That doesn't make sense. And then I think like the boys and girls sports are getting, I think on the outside looking in, I think the boys sport is turning really progressive and turning really transparent with what they're doing with their rankings and adding an extra class and all the information that we get. I just feel like as when the rankings come out, a lot of stuff is communicated through Twitter, which I just think is not the correct medium to do that. So again, just a couple of things that I would change if it was me. So again, just being a little bit more transparent and giving more information, being as progressive as the boys are perceived.
Isn't it like a dude, like one guy in his basement with like, you know, like chicken scratch on the piece of paper doing the rankings for you guys?
I don't want to talk about it.
Plead the fifth.
So the boys. Well, and just before we come back to you, Joe, the boys have now gone to Bound, right? And so they do the ELO ranking, which is all. I mean, it's a little bit of it's a little heady. I'm not really sure I can explain it other than that I understand the concept. But Joe, what do you want to talk about this, or you got another thing?
It was something else. But
okay,
I
well,
think,
so then
like,
we can just jump over that.
Still some progress, right? Some progress has been made with the rankings. So, right?
In all seriousness, what do you guys know for the girls' rankings? Because the boys' rankings used to be a huge issue. It was a big.
It was like, I mean, it was basically a group of people picking the seeds, and now it's science-based, math-based, whatever.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense at the start of the season. When your first ELO came out, it was ridiculous the way, like the boys one, because it was only factored in 3 games, and some teams played 7 games that ended up not even being in the top 16. It doesn't make sense. So you do need a human part of it. I think that's really important to look at, things objectively, subjectively, like who played where, what. The girls' side is correct, one person looking at it, and then sometimes we have conversations, and me and Tony are friends, we're rivals, but sometimes we have conversations like, this doesn't make sense for or against us. So again, in college we have a coaches poll, you know what I mean? And then you use the factor of the coaches poll for the RPI. Why can't the coaches know? So again, if you get 10 coaches, if you ask them and just get the averages of it, you're going to have a better idea. Like we know better, you know, like if Tony beats me, I know to put Tony ahead of me. You know what I mean? Like you can factor those things in, but
You would think.
yeah, no, but again,
So the concern is that there are, of course, like some people that will just always think their team is the best and be like,
but that's
well,
why you have a large amount number. But
Agreed.
In college, you can't vote for your own team, or for our RPI system, your number one vote doesn't count. So if you put yourself number one, it goes away. So your number one, your last one don't count. So
I will say at the beginning of the season, the coaches are asked the census. So where do you see the top 15 teams are going into the season? I would love for that to continue at maybe 2 more times in the season. Ask the coaches. However, there is a bias. Central Iowa. We know the Central Iowa teams. We don't necessarily know the eastern or western side of the state.
and then some people don't respond. Some people don't
true,
participate.
Yeah, that too. But then again, the science piece of it, didn't we have an issue with the boys last year with an 8 seed being
Well, that
the
was
best team in the
that was an eligibility issue, where
Right.
like it didn't. But then it's not even. It's the same as the sort of like the rankings piece or the sub-state stuff. Like it's all retroactive, or it doesn't
Yeah.
happen. It doesn't happen immediately, which for some reason makes no sense since information. How quick does it move these days, Joe?
I love that there's one person on the girls' committee, like that guy or girl, whoever it is, gets hit by a bus. Like, what happens? I mean, like,
It sets everyone free.
like that's unbelievable. So,
Okay, so I think this was discussed last year. The yellow card rule, where you have to sit out, right? You have to sit out for a certain amount of time.
5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Terrible rule.
Yeah. Let's remove the 5
Dan
minute
Rother
rule.
would like it, but that's another topic for conversation. Continue.
Yeah, let's just remove the 5 minute rule.
I'm gonna jump back in when you're done.
Oh, let's go.
Overtime and PKs is ridiculous. We already have too many games in a short amount of spend time. Let's just have ties. Let's just end the game.
Just go
with a tie.
3 points, 1 point, drop like
If
0 points, boom.
if we're number 4 and Tony's number 5 and we tie, maybe we're just really close to each other and we shouldn't have to have a winner on PKs.
Yeah.
Just end it after 80 minutes.
I think the other piece of that is like it's student athletes. So if the game starts at 7 and game ends at 9, okay, 7:30. So done at 9:30. We add extra time. You add that, and they drive penalties. Then they have to go home. They're getting home after 11:30, nearly
College
midnight.
got rid of overtime, except for junior college. So again, going to penalties is again. It's just like let's using a bit of common sense. I'm sure if you asked every coach, they would say let's not do. Again, it's my opinion. Why would you go to penalty? We went to penalty kicks on our first game of the season 2 years ago. It's mental. So just have a tie. Sometimes teams earn. You see it in the Premier League all the time. Some teams, lower teams, earn a tie and give them that add value to ties. It's okay.
Agreed.
Hey,
Go on,
do
Joe.
players have to sit out for technical fouls in basketball? You know?
No,
Oh, you don't?
they don't have to.
Then why do we have to do it for soccer?
I will say it was 10 minutes. We're making progress, right? It was 10 minutes.
Back in the 70s when Tony was playing.
5 minutes only in the last 5 years, I think. But
Easy, you know, same age as
we're getting better. I do think that that's going to go away. That
So I hear,
Isn't that like the national rules though of high school soccer? You know, the NFHS or whatever.
Oh, I don't know that.
No,
It's not.
not anymore.
No. Okay, so can you expand on that?
It's now just you have to leave the field to play for NFHS. At
Oh, no,
least
I'm
it-
sorry. I meant the overtime, penalty kicks, all that stuff.
Also, no. We went with NFHS when I was in North Carolina, switched to no penalties, so it was still 2 overtimes. And I still think
State
Golden Goal.
Association gets to set their own.
Correct.
Okay.
But
We'll play,
NFHS does have an overarching.
We play in a tournament every year where we play out-of-state teams, and they let the coaches know before the game starts. If you're playing an Iowa team, you have to go to overtime and to PKs. So it seems like
Unless we decide.
unless you
not to.
decide
So we
beforehand
can have-
not
we
to.
can have a
but-
conversation with the Illinois coach and say, if it ends in a tie, let's just go straight to PKs. We have to have a winner. We can't have a tie and we play an Illinois team, which is
So it's not an Illinois rule, Kansas rule, Missouri, Wisconsin. They don't have that.
curious.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because only out of state teams boys would play would be like Nebraska, just because of the everyone else is playing in the fall as opposed to us. We're playing in the spring. So
Okay, next topic would be the class split, which we sort of touched on very briefly earlier. And Tony, you're going to get the question asked first to you because you are currently at the top of the pyramid, right, with Waukee Northwest. But you just mentioned that you went to Bondurant, which I'm a silly boy and didn't know. So Bondurant is now at the top of 3A on the boys' side, right? But I think it affects them because now you have all of these larger schools that have dropped down.
Right.
Hoover,
Well, they
Urbandale.
beat for soccer. Are they 2A, 1A, Bondurant?
They're 3A now.
No way. They went all the way up to 3A?
Yeah.
Mind blown.
Yeah, exactly. We're learning a lot of stuff tonight, aren't we, Tony?
Yeah. I didn't know that. Sorry.
But so, talk to me like it doesn't affect you from the girls' side. So just as a a former player and a coach of high school soccer, but just give us your thoughts before we hear from these guys, and then we'll get a little bit more. I'd be curious about Bondurant going from being like kind of the powerhouse, right, to now they're dealing with Urbandale, Hoover, who else?
Yeah.
Like there's some bigger schools that are gonna put some pressure on them. I think
Right.
Norwalk's in there. Yeah, well they were there before. No.
Best of luck to Coach Cox over there. I went to school with him, but Waukee was a similar, because when I was playing at Bondurant, we played Waukee. And
They
there
were
was-
1A back
Yeah,
then.
we were all 1A, and then all of a sudden now Waukee's got 2 high schools. So I think these towns that are just growing so quickly, that's kind of the impact, right? Is that your sports are going to have to either get really good fast or take a beating for a while, and that kind of comes with it. I don't know if there's any way around that, but I think Bondurant's going to hold their own because they're doing it for basketball right now. The boys' basketball team is also up a class and undefeated at this point. So with growing community, you get better athletes as well, or more to choose from at least.
Anybody else want to jump in?
I went and looked real quick to see if Lincoln was going to fall down to 3A after all the players that transferred out. but Lincoln's still like the 5th largest school in the state, so we're still in 4A.
I mean, I was just going to say for the Des Moines Public Schools, it's, the last 15 years have been a struggle at state. And I was talking to someone, and I believe the last time a Des Moines Public School team won a game, actually, Brackett, you might know this game. It was 2003 when Roosevelt
That's
beat
really the
Valley.
last time. That's shocking.
So yeah, I believe that's the last time I was talking to someone about
And
it.
you guys turned around in the law? Like what?
Well, we were pretty tired after that game.
Well,
you literally carried a guy into the goal.
You worked for it. Me? Probably.
Yeah.
That was
But yeah, it was. I mean, that was one of the best high school games. But yeah, so it's Roosevelt used to compete in state, and now no Des Moines Public School really compete. So it's you know, they're not switching the class for the Win Public Schools, but, you know, maybe Hoover has some success for, you know, in 3A, stuff like that. But it's pretty tough trying to compete with Waukee, Northwest, and Ankeny, and, you know, the big schools like that.
So some of the conversation we had the other day and just overall is it offers more kids the opportunity to go to the state tournament and there's more accolades to go around. I think that's positive.
Absolutely.
It dilutes it a little bit, but it also then at the same time it like kind of focuses it. Any more thoughts there?
Yeah, or go ahead. Does the free and reduced lunch thing with football have any kind? Is that what you're going?
Yeah, I was going to say I think there's a couple metrics that I think it was a step in the right direction, like what Joe said a couple times. Like it's positive progress. They're seeing that there's teams that can't compete realistically in certain scenarios due to their student body makeup, and so they're saying, okay, well, if we have less just raw numbers, let's move those classes. But the problem is, realistically, who benefits from this the most? Two mostly affluent communities in the boys' side of the game, right? Urbandale, Norwalk. And I have a lot of respect for the coaches at both places. They don't have anything to do with it. It just happens to benefit them. Or Lewis Central, right, in Council Bluffs. So the people it's still benefiting mostly are your less affluent schools, or the people, or more affluent schools rather, and the people that hurt still are still your Des Moines public schools, your less affluent schools in rural areas that still have large student bodies. So I think there needs to be a success metric there. I don't think there's any reason that a school that's won state 3, 4, 5 times in 2A, 1A should continue to play in 2A, 1A. I understand there's student turnover and things like that, but clearly there's something going on.
So like an example might be Davenport Assumption on the girls' side. They just lost this last year for the first time in 6, 7 years or something. So in theory, like you'd like to see them compete in 3A.
I don't know.
Promotion.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to get too excited because I am on the American Soccer Pro Rel train, so I'm not going to get too crazy about that today because I have a lot of friends in club soccer in this area that benefit from not having Pro Rel. But what I want to say is I think we just need to start taking into account who the student body is, right? You have the metrics that football's using. I think that's a start. Talking about the number of players that are coming out that are eligible. Academic eligibility, school performance is a big issue too, right? You might have 100 and however many guys you said that translates to 80, 120 guys on your list that translates to 80 when they come out. Or you might have 60 guys that translates to 60 guys because you're in a school that has standards reference grading that won't allow students to fail. And so you're looking at, from an educational perspective, a lot more to it than just who's the best team, who's bigger, So I think it's a lot more nuanced. I would love to just jump on the pro rail train, but I don't know how realistic that is.
Travel piece exists.
Correct. And it's the way we've always done it.
Oh, but that's the best part.
So scheduling. Can we just talk about that?
I was going to ask, 'cause I saw that on there. I had a question about that, but I'd be curious what your question was.
So DMPS has now formed this new conference. I'm curious, like, there's some challenges for the non-DMPS schools to schedule games. So give us, I don't know, okay, Reem, you'll jump in, and then let's hear from everybody else, because I think it affects everybody in some way or another.
It affects everyone, period. I mean, and I don't know how this is going to play out during the season. It's the first year, but we went from having 5 mandatory conference games to now we have 10. We're only able to have 19 games, across 15 dates. 2 of those dates, have to be tournaments. So really, I think right now I have 12. We're not required to do a tournament, no. I don't have a tournament. If anyone has a tournament early on in the season that they are interested in.
Well, they're definitely not going to let you in because they can't, they're struggling. Your conference alignment has kind of forced their hand a little bit and made them struggle. Not to you, but your guys' conference has challenged.
Depends on who has the tournament.
It was Matt Ream specifically.
Yeah, you can blame me for that. No, so I have 12 games, and really I can only add 2 or 3 more, and they're very small windows, specific dates in which I can do that. Unless, I want to go old school and just say, screw it, we're going to do 5 games in a week, which I don't want to do. So I'm looking at really limited options when it comes to scheduling games. And I think it affects everyone. In general, it sounds like there are a lot of schools that are struggling to fill out their schedules, and for whatever reason, because I think maybe you guys CIML stuff, are you now all playing each other once? Is that the case?
Yeah, so we're in the same boat as you guys. We went from 5. I mean,
Right.
for us, it's to 8, but that's still a significant increase.
Right. Yeah, because previously you guys would play like half, right?
Right.
And schedule others maybe, but so now we essentially are just I think if we want to go back to the rankings conversation, I think if you're going to have a good picture of where teams need to be when it comes to sub-state, you have to have sort of cross-pollination between different groupings of teams, because otherwise you don't know how they line up against each other. And so now with this new structure, at least on the boys' side, we've made it harder to have games against other opponents outside of the conference. And now that could benefit some of us when it comes to seeding. I mean, I'll be honest, like maybe it would help Roosevelt not to have to play some pretty good suburban schools, because maybe then our rankings on Bound artificially push us higher, which help us, when it comes to sub-state, but that's not really in the best interest of improving, creating better competition, giving the kids at our school opportunities to see what it's like, with other teams that might be better. So I don't know how it's going to play out. It'll be really interesting. I'm really excited to drive 2 hours and 5 minutes to Waterloo East. Can't wait.
So I'm going to jump in here for just a second because it goes back to the thing that I pled the fifth on earlier about what I would do to improve high school soccer. And then I'll shut up for a few minutes, I promise.
No, I was just laughing because
so
you just pled the fifth, and now you're
you know what? I
yourself.
can't do it. Yeah, those of you guys who know me are like, okay, yeah, of course you can't shut up. Yeah. So we have 36 teams in the 4A section of boys soccer. We are allowed 17 games. It would be a really quick fix to the current ranking situation, even with math. And if we just subdivided that into 18 and 18, how we divide that, you can argue. I know that the people on the west side of the state will say you can't do west and east because the east is easier. The people on the east will say you can't do east because east or west is easier. Whatever. My argument would be that there should be some system to subdivide back and forth the same way that like I think maybe one of the Dakotas does this. They drop teams back and forth every couple of years. They reassess. I know football does it for districts. They reseed the districts. 18 teams, 17 games apiece. It's the same exact number of games that we currently play. How you fit that in with, I think you probably have to extend the season a couple weeks to allow that to fit in without tournaments, but then everybody plays the exact same 17 teams as the other teams in their subdivision. It's a really simple fix. Now the issue is travel, right? If I pitch this to an athletic director, he's going to laugh in my face and say, I don't care, go play 1A Martinsdale St. Mary's. I don't care if you can compete with Council Bluffs or Sioux City or whoever. Not my AD, he wouldn't say that, but other ADs, I'm sure. And it's just one of those where I think this is an easy fix. 18 and 18, you have the same subdivisions. You play a regular league table with no overtime. Now all of a sudden we look like we're a soccer league that takes ourselves seriously as a state, rather than the one thing that we consistently have issues with is we can't even fill games.
So Simon, just as the on the girls' side, talk about this.
And this will be going into my 5th year, and this is the most I've had to get in with scheduling. Usually it's the AD's job, and it's like, who do you want to play? Where do you want to play? Like these teams have reached out, and you can kind of say like a yes or a no. But this year, and I know that I've actually reached out to Tony as well, I was like, listen, how much trouble are you finding games? And speaking with everyone, with like Alan at Centennial, JP at Down, it's like we only have 8 games, so we're playing 5 out-of-state teams just to fill games. So for me, it would be like, if the MPS schools don't want to play us, which I completely understand, we should just maybe look after our own and play each other twice.
Or can't because they've got to play 11. Like
Exactly.
it's not even that they won't play you; they can't.
They can't. Yeah.
I was going to ask, why don't you play somebody? We talked about this with the other guys
You can.
twice. Like
Yeah, but
nobody
then-
does it,
then,
but
like, why would we hurt each other twice? Let's say we both win.
Because
then we
everybody
both-
qualifies for sub-state. Bum, bum, bum.
But again, we would hurt each other, and then both losses would count against us. So like a team that's 6 would maybe jump ahead of us because we've lost again.
To each other, yeah.
We've lost to each other, you know what I mean? So it doesn't make sense. But if all of our 8 teams played each other twice, then it'd be like, okay, that's fair enough. But then we'd have
You may lose
some
home field
really
advantage
good
potentially.
9 and 7 teams that on any other given year would be 15 and 2 or whatever. But I don't know the solution to it.
Are those out-of-state teams in tournaments, or are you guys just going out there for one-off?
Yes, we go to the same tournament, the champions in Burlington. It's Bettendorf this year, and then we're going to Council Bluffs, Thomas Jefferson to play 2 Nebraska teams. So, couldn't find games.
Tony, chime in. Just
All right,
same experience.
Same thing. We were lucky enough to get somewhat of a full schedule. We did get a DMPS school, like, stuck to our schedule, so great, that's awesome. But it's also like schools that we've never played before reaching out because they need games, so it's impacting even more schools that we're actually aware of, I think, at this point. But I think the only way there's three things that we can do differently. It's either play each other twice, play schools from out of state, or play schools from different classes, and that's the only things that I can really think of.
And the class, I think, hurts your ranking potentially,
if you lose,
right?
Definitely,
big time. Okay,
but it does nothing for you to play a team at a smaller class. You have to win that game. You have to, and if you lose, it's all risk at this point.
That is a benefit to the ELO system. That's a benefit to the ELO system on the boys' side. I mean, if you lose to a top-ranked team than in a lower division, it still takes that into account.
That's good.
I have to travel to Waterloo East this year, and they only have a varsity team, so it's over 2 hours each way. So you're talking about 6 hours, and we're gonna get 80 minutes of playing time, maybe, depending on how it goes. So I don't think it's efficient to have us traveling to all these schools, and I don't know who did the conference alignment, but I mean, I'd rather play these guys and get my butts kicked than travel for all day just to play for one game.
how many times does Waterloo East have to travel to Des Moines?
Seriously, right? I mean, think about the opposite.
yeah.
5 probably.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But
So
it's
yeah,
probably
it's
not
like-
just Des Moines, because about half the Des Moines schools are traveling to Waterloo East, so they're going to go to Marshalltown, they're going to go to, one of maybe Mason City, Fort Dodge, whatever. That's not one.
Okay,
But football has a better chance to make money, so.
that's true. Okay, so as we sort of work towards the end, we want to talk a little bit about players to watch, and so let's start on the girls' side, ladies first. Tell us, you can't talk about players on your own team. You got to pick other players that you are excited to see, or perhaps not excited to see because they're good. And then we'll give these guys a chance to shout out any girls players they know about, but then we'll do the opposite and flip flop. So let's go youngest first. T. Gray. What do you know about the girls, the girls across the state? Who's the best one you've heard about?
Thanks for putting me on the spot.
You're most
man,
welcome.
'cause, I'm not quite as aware of the girls' side. I'm starting to get to know some. So, I mean, I know, obviously the Northwest and Ankeny schools, and those schools will have a lot of, VSA sporting players that play at a very high level. So I'm sure they got many very good players.
Best kid in the metro that you know of?
Well, yeah. I mean, Robinson at Roosevelt's quite good. She'll be very good. But I actually have I guess I can't tell my own.
No, you
but I
go
have
for it. Please
I have a
do. Go ahead.
sophomore That is very, very good. So Lily Soto, hopefully she can stay eligible, be able to play, and I think she'll be someone that kind of the next barista for us. That kind of is one of the leader of the programs for 2 or 3 years. So that's pretty much all I know.
Very good. Sorry, Tony. I'm going to go next youngest is Simon. That's just a guess.
He's got me by
Old man.
a good decade or so.
And I'll kind of I only really know the old CIML girls, and which are stacked. I'm looking forward to not having to play against some of the top kids from last year. We didn't play Valley, so again, Anna kind of ran it for them last year, so I'm happy she's gone. I know that Natalie's going to be a baller for you this year. Senior, junior, senior. Yeah, so-
Can you guys give last
Natalie
name
who?
somebody? Tony, maybe
Natalie.
help him. Or,
Sorry, yeah.
Natalie Gallagher, Colorado State commit,
Nice.
Fort Collins.
Yep. Tony has a fantastic goalkeeper as well, and Victoria Spahn.
Spahn, yeah.
Yeah. Centennial obviously has Pennington, another class goalkeeper in
Baker and Kate Berger.
Yeah, Kate, after that performance last year, I think she did a lot to help them win that title. And then looking down, like I know that Dowling's got a quality player in Ella, Anlicker, and then am I missing anyone? You can speak about
Yeah.
someone
Yeah, Tony,
you know.
go ahead.
I think that. Yeah.
Simon's kind of hitting on all the big names
Yeah,
there.
I think that's probably what you wanted, right? Yeah.
But yeah, like so
thank you, yes.
Centennial's goalkeeper Kate Berger, and I think she's probably one of the best.
That's a
between
shout
the
out
pipes.
for
our video.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's a quick plug
I think-
for our video from the state tournament last year.
Yeah.
Just absolutely
Between the pipes, I think there's no one
stonewalling
better at this
penalty
level.
shootout. Yeah,
Anlicker, I'm just a huge fan of her. Honestly,
she's at Dowling. Was that right?
she's at Dowling, and she's just a stud athlete. Every sport she does, and we had a lot of success when we went there last year and played them, and she unfortunately got hurt during that match. But I made a point to get over to the Gator where she was getting her ankle nurse just to let her know what a badass she is, and just love watching her play. It's just athletes like that I just love watching. But Simon's going to have a good group of girls too. Valley, yeah, we didn't play Valley last year, and they're always stacked with talent and speed.
What's up with Valley not playing Northwest and not playing Ankeny? Let's go, Rob. What's the deal?
Schedules were both full.
So this year we play them though, because it's
Yeah.
less so.
Yep.
Okay, great.
Yep.
Rob can't get out of that one.
Nope. Joe, Jacob, Matthew, anybody, any young ladies that you guys have heard of or know of that you're gonna pay attention to, or am I gonna be crickets?
Soto.
Right on, Joey. Good choice.
Yeah, I think they hit on all of the players that I watched. I watched Ella from Dowling a couple times as well. And she, 3 times mentioned. I mean, she's that kind of athlete that she's just exciting to watch. So I got to watch her a couple different times this past year. That was a lot of fun.
Any exciting Roosevelt players, Matthew?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple kids I know a little bit. Like Tiger said, Robinson. What's her first name again? Miara? Yeah. She's pretty good. She's pretty dynamic. Last year when I went to the Roosevelt Dowling, I don't know what you call it, sub-state, whatever, game. And she was pretty impactful for them. So I just saw her today on the turf. The girls were out there a little bit before the boys came out. So she also referees.
I like that. What about on the boys' side, Matt? Who are you excited to see or not see?
Well, I mean, here's the thing. So and I'm going to focus a little bit on DMPS here.
You're allowed to do that.
But so every conference game for us the last couple of years has been an absolute battle. We have not had an easy game, and so previously our conference was, Roosevelt, Hoover, North, East, and Lincoln, and then Ottumwa. And so all of those programs, so Hoover and East have been pretty good the last couple of years. Hoover's got a bunch of guys. One really exciting player is Ben Musengo in the midfield. He's only grown and gotten better in the last year, I can imagine. They also have, Javi up top?
Flores.
Flores, yeah. So he's got a couple older brothers who I know a little bit, but he'll be an exciting player for them as well. Who's the young guy who played our club for a little bit at Lincoln? You remember him?
Which I don't know who you're talking about.
Played at the MSC.
Well, yeah, but
Blanking on his name. Exciting player though. I think he was.
What?
oh,
Joey, do you have any good players?
Do what's about.
Anyway, I want to continue real quick. So North has a bunch of good young players. They were always fired up to play us. Same with Lincoln. I think Roosevelt might be in for a bit of a challenge this season. We haven't lost a conference game in 2 years, but I think most people 3 years.
They didn't lose in 2000.
2020, yeah, no one lost in 2020 though. So yeah, very excited to see how some of these guys, Shipper over at North, Rubino at Hoover, Lounsbury at East, and then Joe over at Lincoln, how their programs are this year.
Mr. Lucy, what do you see out there?
You guys had basically all CIML coaches last time, right? So I'm sure you've heard a lot of these names.
Just
But
I'm not
the
even-
guys I just am going to see, I mean, those are just the guys we're going to see.
I mean, if they're the best players, they're the best players.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of talent in our conference. I'm really excited. I just saw some videos this past weekend of guys playing in their club leagues that are super talented. There was a big dude up top at Valley that I think has grown into a little bit more. I can't remember his name. You're asking a lot of me here, but overall, I think we have a. Yeah, I'm sure he will. You guys talk weekly, right?
Oh yeah.
And I think I'm really excited to get to talk to our boys about the challenge that is the front three at Centennial. I think
Rashidi, and
Andrew Heckenleibel, and so I think they're going to be an exciting three to watch specifically together. So I think that's going to be pretty interesting. We don't plan on watching them, but I'm sure they'll have a lot of people watching them.
Joey, what do you finger on the pulse? What do you got? Best players in the state for your money?
I think his name is Michael Nelson from Iowa City West.
We've heard that name a couple times. He was a big name going in the state tournament last year and had a quiet game against PV.
Yep.
But, PV masterclass that is.
The Godfather.
Yeah, the Godfather.
Defense.
Let's not talk about that.
Defends so well.
They did. That's all you got? Mike Nelson? Not the one. Not the former Drake player, Mike Nelson?
No.
CR Wash?
No,
Shout out.
he actually reminds me of Jesse Baker a lot, the faster version of Jesse Baker. It's Nelson from Iowa City West. It's a compliment, right? Drake, was he MVC Player of the Year, 2006? Yeah.
I want to shout out one more just at a smaller class that I'm excited to watch.
Want.
All right.
Sure.
I'm really excited to see what Caden Johnson at Glenwood does this year. I think he's a super athletic player. Played forward last year. I thought he was one of the best forwards we played against all year. So I'm really excited to see.
Where's he at? Glenwood, you said?
Glenwood Rams, yep. That's just the Ram love.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why are they calling the Rams?
Not because Runnels Altoona Mitchellville schools, that's for sure.
Steves, what's your prediction for the year?
All right, you guys got 30 seconds. Okay, give us a prediction.
Yours first.
My prediction: the state tournament adding going every day again, and the boys adding another class is going to be a very long week for us.
Good prediction. Joe, predictions for the year. Where the Lincoln Rails going to be in, let's say, June, first weekish? What are they going to be doing? What are they going to be doing?
I mean, that's always the goal, right? We are better this year. That's about all I can
So you're
say.
going to win more games than you won last year?
I hope so, but we're better as a group, as a collective group.
So
We have better
what's
players.
on the whiteboard? Like target, like 5 wins, 10 wins, win the Metro, get to sub-state, and like out of the first game. Like, wait, come on, there has to be something.
Is the Metro still even a thing?
Well, I don't know. Win
With the AIC.
Yeah.
Are we AIC South? Or is it IAC? Iowa Lions Conference. With the IAC.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jacob.
I'm not going to wager a guess on our record. I'm going to use some coach speak. I think we are much improved. I think that this year with the smaller class size, we can definitely expect a sub-state final, and then the idea would be to make our first ever state appearance, and I think that we are equipped to do it.
Mr. Ream on the boys' side.
I think we're going to help student athletes achieve their individual goals as players and people, to improve, have a positive experience, and look back fondly on their career as soccer players.
Tony on the girls' side. Walking
The
Northwest.
goal, stay healthy is the number one thing, and if that happens, then I don't see us not playing in the final game in state.
Simon.
My first prediction is that at some stage throughout the season, I'm going to text Tony frustrated with the rankings. Even though he can do nothing to do with it. And we're on the opposite side of the sideline, so yeah. Prediction for us, I mean, I think it's the same as everyone, like make it to state, make it at state, so go there, win some games. I think once you make the tournament, anything can happen. You can see that, and you can see that in the past. So once you're at the dance, you give yourself a chance, and that's always the goal for us.
Ooh, I like that little rhyme.
You're a poet and didn't even know it.
For the Lincoln girls, I mean, obviously making state would be fantastic. My first year, I'm not sure. We'll see where we can go, but I think we're actually going to surprise a lot of people, and my plan is to be the most organized team in each game, so we'll see how that goes.
That's a good plan. Okay, well, we're going to wrap it up, and we're actually going to, all one take today. We're not even doing an outro separately, so we're going to tell you to please check out our social media pages. We're at KF Soccer on Twitter and on Facebook and Instagram, and on Twitter we're at KF_soccer. Ugh. Go ahead, Blake. What's our website?
KFsoccer.com. Because there's so many high school people listening to this one, check out our free high school futsal battle, March 10th for the boys, March 11th for the girls.
March 11th for the boys, March 12th for the girls.
See if anyone was actually listening.
And also stay tuned we got goals of the week and play of the month, right? Whatever, we'll get there. Thanks guys for joining us. This is one of our best ones. We do it when we do our one take. It's really good. Thanks for joining us. Evan, good stuff on the camera. We'll see you guys next time.